Hi, happy Friday. This is week 3 on property management tips. And this week we're going to talk about landlord responsibilities. So let's get started. We're going to talk about property safety, habitability, tenant privacy, the lease, the rent, evictions, and security deposits. Very important topics. So let's start with safety and repairs. So we want to make sure that the property is safe and that we keep our properties in good condition. We want to hire contractors, vendors that are licensed, that will provide you invoices, that they have insurance, and that they're doing a good job, because ultimately you're the landlord and you want to be protected. We said we also wanted to talk about repairs. It's very important to follow the law and take care of repairs. We are going to be going into summer, and this is a very important one. We need to provide heat, air conditioning, especially in the summer in Vegas. If we have an air conditioner that breaks down and you're waiting on a part, you're still responsible. If it's 110 degrees, you're going to have not only the expense of the part, but also of placing that tenant under some comfort, whether it's placing the tenant in a hotel, if it's going to be a few days, or providing portable air conditioners if it's just a few hours. And that you also budget, depending on your property, the age of your property, should your air conditioner need to be replaced. Because nothing is worse than having to spend $8,000 to $10,000 on a new unit and not have it in your plan that this is a possibility. The other important subject is tenant privacy and rental agreements. So these are very important to me. A lot of times, especially when you have a property that has always been self-managed by a landlord, and the landlord was used to knocking on the door at the property, collecting the rent at any time, deciding that they would like to see their house and they will go up to the property. Or I have had landlords that will just walk into the backyard. Yes, the house is your house, but the tenants do have rights as well. So you want to be protected. There's notices that have to be served. So keep in mind, what I always say to my landlords is, if you want to come to see your property in person, let's plan ahead, let's schedule so we can provide the proper notice so that you can see your property. In our case, we also do move-ins and move-outs with videos, and we do that for documentation and also to keep our landlords that are out of town informed so that you know what your property looks like when the tenant moves in and when the tenant moves out. Very important is the lease agreement and discrimination. So as a landlord, as a property manager, we want to treat everyone the same. So if we have policies in place for what is the requirement to accept an application, what is the process, what is required from every applicant, then you need to follow it. You do not want to discriminate. You do not want to be in fair housing violation. So it's very important to follow those rules and be equal with everybody. So if you have a property manager, they will handle the application process, and it's one less thing that you need to worry about as a landlord. We said about the rental agreement. A lot of times when a property is self-managed, the landlord comes to us or to another property manager with their personal written lease or no lease at all. And there's nothing worse than going to court and having a lease agreement that it's not compliant to the law. And did you know that we have to honor the agreement until it expires? But we always want to have any agreement between the landlord or property manager and tenant in writing for everyone's protection, to avoid misunderstandings. And also, it's nothing worse than showing up to court and telling the judge, well, it's a he said, she said, because there is no agreement. So again, hire your property manager. Let them handle the writing of your contracts to follow the laws, and you not have to worry about that. With that said, laws have been changing. Eviction process has been changing since COVID, and we have to provide 3 days. So the rent is not late until the fourth day, unless you can provide more time if you want to, but you cannot or no longer say your rent, it's late on the second of the month and I'm charging you a late fee. You have to provide 3 days to the tenant to pay their rent, and on the fourth day, then they are late. At that time, you can start the eviction process or serve a notice of 7 days pay and quit. Most important, you can only charge a 5% late fee. So I have seen some contracts with self-managed properties that have creative charges. And let me tell you, even if you have it in the contract, if it's not following the law, when you go to court, the judge is going to follow the law regardless of what you have in that contract. So it's very important just to follow the law from day one and have it in writing. Let's talk about security deposits and evictions. So we want to be fair to our tenants. The last thing that I want for any of my landlords is to go to court and lose. So we want to be fair, provide an opportunity of what the law allows to the tenant to pay their rent. That is why with me and at Monarch, the rent is late on the 4th. So on the 4th, a 7-day pay or quit notice will be sent out to the tenant. We will follow the law by using a servicing company. When you do that, sometimes tenants will not pay until the expiration, the day before the 7-day pay or quit expires. And believe it or not, if you did not serve that notice, they will take longer to pay. So it's important that you follow the law again, and you're always looking at everything that you do is documentation and being fair and preparing yourself to defend your case in court. Insurance and evictions. So it's very important for the landlord to maintain a landlord policy. I don't sell insurances, so the most important is to talk to your insurance agent for advice and what is best for you. There is a requirement, and it is on our property management agreement, of what type of insurance we required and a minimal coverages. So you can also see that on the property management agreement as well. And then evictions, like I just said, it's very important to follow the law, to serve the proper evictions, and to keep that in mind, that something very important, especially when you take over a property that has always been self-managed, is you need to be using vendors that can provide you with an invoice, that are licensed, that have insurance for your protection as a landlord. Ultimately, you want to be protected. If you use an unlicensed vendor, and there is a problem in the property, it's going to fall on you. So let's use the proper license and experts. The other very important is the rent payment. With us, we provide electronic payment methods. This is done for protections of both sides, the tenant, the landlord, and us, the property managers. When the tenant uses electronic methods, it comes directly into their ledger, avoids mistakes that can happen, and also it's convenient. We also provide a method of paying cash to a third-party vendor so that it comes directly into their ledger. We don't handle the cash, but yet the tenant has the option of handling cash. You know what's more important about using our voucher method is the tenant cannot pay any other amount other than what's on the voucher. A lot of times I hear landlords say a tenant used to pay them cash, used to pay them via Zelle or deposit in their bank account. And in my opinion, those are the worst methods, because you need to be able to have proof that these payments were made, provide receipts to the tenants, and most important, you do not want to accept partial payments. If you served a 7-day pay or quit notice for $1,000 and you just accepted $700, you just received rent payment. And now you got to start all over should the tenant not keep their promise and make the verbal arrangement you just did to complete their rent payment. And if you provide your bank account for the tenant to deposit your payment, you can't control that. They can go to the bank and make a deposit in the amount they're choosing. And it's the same thing with Zelle. But by using an electronic method through a property management company, definitely with us, the tenant is going to be required to make the full payment and not allow them to make partial payments. Of course, there's always exceptions to the rule. If the landlord agrees to accept less, ultimately it's the landlord that makes the final decision, understanding what the consequences are. And that is okay too. So what did we talk about today? It was keeping the property safe, being ready for summer, preparing for repairs, making sure that we keep our property habitable, that we follow the law and not discriminate, that we have systems in place to protect the landlord and the property manager and as well the tenant, because we expect your property to be taken care of, the rent to be paid on time. So we as landlords and property managers have to provide a habitable, good condition property as well. And most important, having insurance and following the legal process. I think I covered the most important parts of being a landlord, but most important, landlords, why do this yourself? You know, here at Monarch Property Management, we have a plan that will fit your budget. Let us handle it for you. You enjoy being the landlord. Just worry about receiving your rent on time. We communicate with you and keep you informed. We show you the move-ins and move-outs via video. So there's no reason for you to worry. Let a property manager take care of this and keep you safe, compliant, and following the law. So thank you very much and have a happy Friday. And again, if you need us, 702-412-7189, LasVegasYourHome.com, Marcella with Monarch Property Management.